Let me adjust this real quick. Okay. All right. My name is Quan Neloms, and read my story here. I'm severely nearsighted, so if you see me going in close, all right. I came of age in Detroit during the 1990s, and I had a privilege of growing up around artists ranging from musicians, capoeiristas, painters, and wood carvers to graffiti artists and comic book artists. As a youth, I learned to appreciate art in its various forms, but there was always a debate about one of Detroit's most infamous art installations that I never really considered until recently. Utilizing discarded and dumped materials, i.e. trash, to make art was odd to me back then because that's not what the artists I knew used to create art. Seeing pictures of this art and watching live debates on the news, but never really seeing it in person, caused me to form an opinion and to agree with the words of the mayor of Detroit at the time. That stuff ain't art. Tear it down. Y'all know who said that, right? All right. As a teacher, I often employ strategies to empower students to raise their voice and tell their own stories in their own words because I believe it is important for students to counter any bias or negative narratives about themselves in their community by creating and sharing their own stories. In short, storytelling is important because it has the power to inform and change minds. Having been involved in education for the past 21 years, I know that reminders and encouragement are sometimes needed to help us stay true to our guiding principles. My guiding principle is storytelling, and recently I received a reminder of how important storytelling is. As I mentioned earlier, I have a background in appreciating art, and as a young person, I had an encounter with art that I didn't consider to be art, but trash. Nearly 30 years later, I came face to face not only with this art that I once considered trash, but with the artist as well. Recently, I had the opportunity to visit the outdoor art exhibit known as the Heidelberg Project. Never having seen it in person, I stepped out of my vehicle and I had the opportunity to analyze the art/trash up close. I was already biased, with my arms folded and with a visible scowl. Sure enough, all I could see was trash. I did admire the carefully manicured lawns, but the boat filled with discarded stuffed animals, the painted TV sets from the 80s, the pieces of wood painted as clocks, and the random polka dots everywhere caused me to turn up my nose and confirm my bias that this was not art. Then the artist arrived. Mr. Guyton, who was the same age as my parents, explained his reasoning and intentionality behind his art. He told a story of his childhood and the '67 riots with tanks rolling down his street. He talked about how his neighborhood became a regulated dumping ground and how he and his father gathered what people left behind and made art from it. Each art installation meant something to him and his community. He stated that he wanted to take things that were discarded and make something beautiful out of them. This was symbolic of his community, of how his community was discarded after the riots, but how the people were beautiful, and he wanted the world to know it. And those polka dots were placed there by all the visitors who came to experience his art. Listening to his story caused me to reevaluate my stance on his creations. After listening to him, I had a change of heart. I could see the artistry of what he created. It was art, and the story behind his art caused me to have a change of heart. Not only that, his art caused a transformation in that community. A place that was once discarded has now become a destination for people around the world to visit and admire. This encounter caused me to see my own hypocrisy in conforming to bias before hearing the whole story. A veteran teacher such as myself, who uses storytelling to counter bias, found myself conforming to bias. This showed me that continuous intentionality is needed in the work that we do. This experience renewed my commitment to providing opportunities and platforms for young people to create and share their stories, while reminding me to always be ready to hear the whole story. Storytelling is powerful because it can change hearts, minds, and communities.